Nigeria is intensifying all sector reforms to boost stagnant production and curb losses. At the 2025 Nigerian Oil and Gas Week, Energy Week, the Petroleum Minister warned that dormant licenses will be revoked under the PIA's drill or drop policy. The government also approved 37 new evacuation routes to tackle oil theft, while highlighting the crude output has flatlined at 1.4 to 1.5 million barrels per day for over a year. Meanwhile, the NUPRC says $16 billion in investments commitments have been secured since 2022, but concerns remain around delivery, ESG risk and investor confidence. With bold moves on paper, the question now is whether Nigeria can execute at scale and pace. Aisha Saliu covered the conference last week and brings us this report. All right, looks like our producers can't give, we don't have the report right now, but Abdul Majid Oyeyemi Amusa, founder Dears Nigeria, joins me now for the conversation. Good morning, Abdul Majid. Okay, well, I mean, a lot of things were said. Okay, hopefully we have him on now. Abdul Majid, are you there? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Oh, yes, I can hear you. Good morning, Joanna. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes,
hope you're doing well.
Very well, thank you, and hope Kebi's treating you well at the moment. Let's get into some of the fallout from last week's Nigerian Oil and Gas Energy Week. We had, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources during the conference highlights, and this isn't exactly new, right, that the President is directing all holders of dormant oil assets to immediately reactivate them. We know this is something that has been resounding, drill or dump, that has been the phrase, but has there been actually any moves to implement that? Abdul Majid.
So that's a very, very important point. You know, the President gave a very clear order to the new management of the NNPC that we need to ramp up our daily production to at least 2.2 million barrels. And as much as we know that this is very possible because those volumes are there, but there are many things that have hampered the ability for licenses to develop. So what we're seeing is that the government is saying that we're putting levers in place to mitigate those issues, to make it more attractive for investment. Some of those wells are inactive due to maybe lack of investment, maybe a lot of theft has gone on there, and maybe just lack of the capacity to develop it within the context where it exists. So what government is saying is that I know that I may not have been doing my part in the past, but now I am putting things in place to ensure that you can actually do your work. So what I'm telling you to do now is, if you now don't do your work after I've done my own part and created the enabling environment, I may need to take that license to you and give it to who has the capacity and investment to actually unlock the asset as it should be. So that's what we're saying. And for us, like I said the last time I was on this show, it's a turning point for the entire sector. It's about innovation. It's about thinking outside the box and being productive within the context that we have found ourselves. There's a lot of issues, in that area, but the security, challenges are being looked at. Also, the challenge of lack of clarity in terms of regulation and so on. So I think a lot of people are also watching the government's body language to see if this sanity is here to stay. And if that is the case, definitely it will lead to more investment and an increase in production, definitely. And if that doesn't happen, government would use the stick. So it's like a carrot and stick approach that will be applied.
Interesting. And I mean, to get to the root of why we even have this issue in the first place, what would you say this says about the criterion on which licenses were handed out in the first place, right? The speculative licensing that exists, and what is being done about that?
Yeah, so I mean, we know that this licensing regime in the past has been flawed by a lot of, do we call it patronage or a little bit of man no man, or something. But this is what the PIA coming in place, and then this, this renewed, leadership push to ensure that we as a country make the most out of, our resources, because we need it now more than ever, because that is the the highest contributor to our foreign exchange and our reserves, as a whole. So what is happening is that there used to be a lack of significant or robust due diligence in the past. And what this regime is saying is that that is in the past. There's going to be pre-due diligence steps that would lead to further due diligence steps, and it will be very, very clear that you are most likely the most appropriate company to take on that asset before that asset will be, licensed to you.
And all right. So another thing that came out of the Energy Week, was, the ambitious barrels per day production output, right? We're saying 2 million barrels per day. That is a projection for this year. We're hoping to meet domestic energy needs and international commitments. Do you think right now we are overstretched? And what do you make of our ability to meet up with that goal?
Yes, definitely. As of today, it looks like a far cry. But the truth of the matter is that the issues that are being faced that is hindering production are issues that government can take the lead and take the bull by the horn to start to solve. If those issues are solved, you will find a rapid increase in production, because a lot of this the idle assets are left like that because of one issue or the other. But if for example, either you produce or the license will be taken away from you, drill or lose the license or something like that. If that happens, that would mean that people must drill or they will lose the license. And if they lose the license, it will be given to someone who is most likely within the capacity to produce really quickly, because everybody will be given targets and and limits and all of that. So I feel like, for example, pipeline vandalism, infrastructure gaps and regulatory stability, if those things are in place, we can find the amount of rigs increasing very, very rapidly. And we may not hit 2 million, obviously, before the end of this year, but next year is very, very possible before the end of next year, if things are done and everybody plays their role adequately. Right. This is the push, and this is what we're seeing is going to happen. The routes that have been up, we know where the issues are and put levers in place to solve those issues. Private sector is watching government to play its own part. If government doesn't play its part, it will hinder private sector from playing its own part. It will end up being in a blame game. So what the minister is saying is that there is a clear plan by the government about what the issue is and how we're going to mitigate those issues. And government is making the move to solve those problems, and it's encouraging the private sector holders.
Indeed, private sector, hopefully we see their participation, and as well, more importantly, the investments. It was announced that in the last 2 years, we have seen 16 billion worth of investments in that sector. Majid, do we have you back with us now? All right, so while we do try to have him back and get more of his perspective from some of the fallout from last week's energy meeting, we do have a brief report from Aisha Salihu on the event last week.
Global energy progress through investment, partnerships and innovation. The conference brings together energy key players discussing long-term energy security, economic sustainability and solutions through local content implementation.
The more we are able to bring this supply chain close to area of operation, the more we are able to ensure that there is predictability and also cost assurance in terms of efficient, making sure that you are able to produce quality goods close to your operating environment. Even more than achieving energy security, we must be empowered. Gas is a commodity reserve gas, and we are in an era that has been declared to kill of gas. Given the capacity, I need research efforts. Highlighted is good at that in the skill set in the industry.
Panel discussions spawned topics such as deepening community participation, impact of NOGICD Act on the ease of doing business and cost competitiveness, adoption of technology to domestication, among others. One core issue echoed throughout: energy resource maximization, overlapping issues within regulatory agencies, and the need for sustainable development for the future of energy.
Prior to now, we didn't have much in the scheme. The law introducing the financial institutions who, like I always said, they have the penetration, they have the reach, to this community contractors. So for a community contractor who has to apply for this form online, before our vendors centralized in the industry, they would have to travel all the way from the community. The community contractor in Bayelsa, for instance, would have to travel all the way to Lagos to make an application.
With this presence, we'll be able to minimize this illegal operation, whereby it helps to clean the environment because the waterway is not polluted again. Even the vegetations around the pipeline, I wish I have time to show you. We have our videos. You see how the pipeline was, pipeline right of way was, and now how it is now. You see the trees are coming back again.
At the end of the deliberations, it is believed Nigeria's energy transition will require not just capital and expertise, but also unity of purpose and visionary leadership, setting a renewed tone for collaborative reform as stakeholders are hopeful that this will translate into tangible improvements on the ground. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
Definitely quite some reforms in that oil and gas sector. We'll continue to monitor all that and more. Unfortunately, Abdul Majid and Musa able to rejoin the conversation, but we'll pick it up some other time on Business Edge. Right now.